Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Now, the new iRacing build is here for Season 3 2024, and in this video, I'm going to tell you what's new and what I'm excited about. That's if you're too lazy to read it online. Now, I thought this build was a bit light to start off with, but we've got two new tracks on the road side, a track on the oval side, we've got two new road cars, and we've got two new oval cars and a couple of other little bits and pieces that I'll talk about later. So first up, let's have a look at the new content starting on the road side. So we've got two new tracks. We've got Circuito de Navarra. Now this is a circuit located in Spain, opened in 2010 and is one of Spain's most modern circuits. So the main layout is 2.44 miles in length, 15 turns, but there are two other layouts. And the best thing about this circuit is it's not going to cost you anything extra than your iRacing based subscription. It's not paid for content. Now, I've got to admit, I'd not heard of this circuit until the iRacing build. And to me, it looks like your typical Spanish circuit. Although I don't know what the racing is going to be like here. It's all long straights and 90-degree turns, apart from the first sector, which is quite nice. Now, I don't think the racing is going to be great here in GT3 cars and up, but below that, GT4s, F4s, Mazdas, Toyotas, I think the racing is going to be really good because there's going to be lots of draft. And as always, iRacing have done a brilliant job of this scan. Now, next up, we have got the Sachsenring in Germany. Now, I've watched motorcycle racing here at Sachsenring for many years, but I don't think I've ever seen cars racing here. I think I've driven it once on Race Room. So this circuit is 2.28 miles long with 13 turns, and it's full of elevation changes. I really like it, but my favorite thing about the Sachsenring are the curbs. I mean, you can't get much more German than that. So now onto the cars for the roadside. First up, we have got the Ford Mustang GT3. Now this is powered by a 5.4 litre naturally aspirated Ford Coyote V8 engine. Now, I absolutely love this car because I owned a Ford Mustang, but it didn't rev like this thing does. And I've got to say, my paint on this car looks absolutely incredible. So next up, we've got the Corvette Z06 GT3R. Now this is powered by a 5.5 litre LT6 based V8 engine. A stunning looking car, but obviously not as nice as the Mustang. So for tracks on the oval side, we have one, and it's Oswego Speedway. Now this is located New York, USA. So it has two configurations, the 0.62 mile and a 0.37 mile. And to complement that, we have two new cars on the oval side, both street stocks. We've got the Casino M2 and we've got the Eagle T3. Both make the same power, both weigh the same, but look a little bit different. And the good thing is, if you buy one of these, you get the other one free. Now, before we talk about the other bits and pieces, let's take out the new GT3 cars on the new tracks, starting firstly with the Ford Mustang at the Sachsenring. Right, let's take you around Sachsenring in the brand new Ford Mustang. First thing you'll probably notice is how it sounds. Sounds amazing in my opinion. I mean, I am biased because I owned a Mustang for a couple of years. A Coyote, same as this one. Well, not the same as this one, obviously. So I am a little bit biased. But mine didn't rev like this one does. I associate a big V8 with being a bit lazy, like loads of torque, where this thing just wants to rev. It's incredible. It's amazing. It's obviously going to be really popular. I think people have wanted the Ford Mustang for a long time, I think. Do another lap just because I'm enjoying myself. Yeah, so it reminds me of the Mercedes. It's a bit tail happy. It drives very similar to the Mercedes, to me. Well, maybe a bit of a hybrid between the BMW and the Mercedes. I mean, not surprisingly, really, with it being, you know, rear-wheel drive, big, heavy engine up front. Try and get a better lap in this time. Delta's green. But I do like it. Holy moly, I do like it. Not surprisingly, this is going to be my GT3 of choice. Being a Mustang guy. I don't think it's the easiest car to drive. Yeah, I don't think it's that easy to drive. Oh, I lost all the time there. That's all right, though. Quite consistent, laps-wise. 21.62, 21.66, I think it was. But it drives really well. It drives a bit like the Mercedes. I think it sounds excellent. I think it sounds better in the car than it does outside the car. The only thing I don't like about it, well, a couple of things I don't like about it, really, are that sun visor on the front. I think that's way too big. If you look at what we can actually see through the window there now, it's not too bad for me now because I'm using a big 48-inch screen. So that, you know, that the gap is actually quite wide for me. But for you guys, if you're watching this on a phone, that will look really small. But for me, it's actually all right. People might move the camera in just to make that a little bit bigger or adjust their field of view. But I've kept the same field of view that I've been running for the last couple of months. And that's perfectly fine for me in this car. But that's the only thing I don't like about the interior. And I'm not a fan of the rear wing and the rear splitter. I'm not a fan of how that looks. I think it looks a bit, I don't know, it's like teeth kind of sticking out the back. I'm not a fan of the rear end, but I do like the car. Holy moly. So that's a couple of laps in the Mustang. I really like the car. I think it sounds incredible, and it's a Ford Mustang. But now let's jump into the Corvette at Navarra. Right, so the GT3 Corvette. Now, I think this sounds worse than the Mustang in the car, but outside the car, I think this sounds absolutely glorious. And it feels a bit more pointy than the Mustang, as if it's got much more front end than the Mustang. I've not tested them back to back on one track yet, but this feels much more pointy. Feels a lot like the GTE, as you would imagine, the Corvette GTE. The front end feels really good. Now you'll have to excuse me, I don't know the circuit very well either. But this car feels brilliant to drive. Visibility is much better than it is in the Ford Mustang. It changes direction really well, brakes really well, handles the curbs quite well. As you can see. Gets the power down well. Try and push on a little bit on this lap. I'm still learning the circuit as I go. But I can't see a fault with the car yet. I can't see a fault with the Corvette. I've yet to find it. Which is good. I'm sure it will have its weaknesses, just like every car has. But I haven't found it yet. When it steps out of line, it seems quite manageable to get it back to where you want it. I've not really lost it as such. I mean, admittedly, I'm not pushing because I don't know the track. But even there, where I'm kind of being a bit stupid over the curbs, it's saying, "All right, Dave, no bother. Is that all you've got?" I really can't find anything to complain about with this car. Apart from maybe the sound in the cockpit. If I'm looking for something to criticise, that might be it. But it sounds glorious outside. Absolutely glorious outside the car. Yeah. A really good car. I think it's going to be really popular. So visibility is good. It's good on the brakes. It's got good traction coming out the turns. The front end feels really pointy. The rear end feels quite planted. I really can't find anything really to criticise, which is a good thing. Again, I think the Corvette's really good. I think it drives a little bit better than the Mustang. It just seems a bit more pointy, seems a bit more planted. I think that's going to be the better car out of the two of them. But if I was going to buy one of them, it would be the Mustang. But that's just because I like Mustangs. I think the Corvette's a better car. Now, moving on, there has been rain tyres added to a few new cars. We've got the Ligier LMP3 and now the GT4 class and its entirety is now rain enabled, as is the Porsche Cup car and the Global Mazda. iRacing say there's been extensive updates with the NASCAR truck series, both aerodynamically and with the chassis. And now every car on the service has the new damage model. I did notice one new thing when driving the GT3 cars with the pit stop adjustments black box. You can now adjust the front and rear anti-roll bars and the rear wing, but you do get time added during the stop for those adjustments. But I think that's a really, really good idea, especially when you're doing the endurance events. You can make little tweaks just to make the car feel a little bit better, depending on what's going on with the weather. And also now in the race results, you can click on various different tabs, which gives you specific information about what happened during the race. Did somebody have an off track on what lap? What happened? Car contact, lost control, off track. Information such as fastest lap, the race fastest lap, where drivers started and where drivers finished. So on the face of it, it doesn't seem that there's much when you read it online, but when you actually dive in, there's actually quite a lot happened in this build. Obviously, a lot of it's gone on behind the scenes, like the new damage model. We don't really appreciate it, but the amount of work that must have gone into that, crazy. So if I was going to pick one thing out the new build, which is my favourite, obviously it's going to be the Ford Mustang, followed closely by Sash and Ring. So let's talk about the cost of everything then. So as I mentioned at the beginning, Navara is free. It's included in the base content, so you don't actually have to buy it, which is good. Sash and Ring, that would cost you $14.95. Same with Oswego Speedway, $14.95. As for the cars, both GT3s, they would cost you $11.95 each. And the street stocks, if you bought one of them, you get the other one free. And again, that would cost you $11.95. Would I buy them? Well, I don't know what the street stock situation is going to look like. That series, I've no idea. If you're an oval guy, then yes, I would probably buy them. As for the roadside, Navara is free. If it wasn't free, I might not have bought that. I don't think the racing on there is going to be that good in the faster cars. But because it's free, it's probably going to be added to the Global Mazda schedule. and I think that'll be excellent. Session Ring, I think is a brilliant track. I think that's worth buying. Onto the cars, the GT3s, the Corvette, and the Mustang. If you don't have any preference on the brand, I think the Corvette is going to be the better car. I ran both of those cars with the fixed setup, and the Corvette felt so much more planted. Overall, I think this has been an excellent build. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great week. See you later. Cheers.